Alright, hello. I thought I would do well, because the date today is 4/9 and we're getting close to the midnight hour now, I thought why not leave it to the last minute to do a video on some of the 4/9 stuff that's in the dollar bill. Okay, some of these folds, and I want to also show you a little adjustment that I made to one of my tables that is kind of interesting. Okay, the way it ties back to the dollar bill. So I want to start off by I'm not going to do every single fold. There's two or three other folds that I'm not going to be covering, and there is another fold that I'm not going to be covering that references the number 4/9 as well. I call it the Labor Day fold. I'm not going to cover that one. It's a pretty neat fold. You can go back in my back catalog and look at it. And basically, you end up concertinaing the dollar bill down, and Washington's head pops up out of the dam, as though he's being born from it. Okay, so that's a pretty neat fold, and it encodes the 4th of September is actually the date that it encodes. So it encodes a 4/9 in there. And I guess you could also encode a number 14 as well, which would be the 4th of January is the other number you could get to with that as well. But I don't want to get into all that. There's way too much to do just in this one video without sort of doing every single fold. The fold that we want to look at first, though, we're going to go back over something. Remember the little owl dude that's right here? We're going to go, that's a fold marker. We're going to go through there, and I'm going to show you this first fold because I think it's important to just re-emphasize this importance of pi. So normally you would, if you can see my cursor, you would fold the bill right here, and then you'd pull this side over to the other side of the bill. Okay, and what you'll notice is that these two things line up. Okay, if I could just, come on. Well, we can get it pretty close, but we're not going to get it dead on, I don't think. Oh, can't. Oh, that's close enough. No, it's not. About like this somewhere. There we are. That'll do. That's kind of close enough. Okay, so what you'll see is that we have these two things matching up. The shield and the sort of circly thing here are matching up, right? And there's multiple other little fold markers in this thing, okay? But for right now, you'll see these two match up. So if I go to brushes, I'm going to outline something for you. I'm going to outline well, let me just show you, right? So the first thing that I'm going to show you is this, okay? Kind of like a P. And then this is kind of like an I, okay? Now, it actually looks better if let's do this. Hang on a minute. I've got to do this. Hang on. Let me show you something. So that sort of says PI there, right? Now, if I take and I rotate that 180, what you'll see, actually what I need to do, hang on a minute. I've outlined that so you can see it, right? Now let me take that and rotate it because you'll be able to see what that is. So you can see that that says pi. Yeah. Now what becomes very obvious is that now looks like a number 10. You know, the outside, we've got an 11 sitting inside a number 10 right there. So we have 10, 11, and we have the word pi. Okay, so keep that stored in your memory for a minute. We're going to go to the table here, but I want to show you the next fold as well. So there's our 10, 11. The 10th of November is the 314th day of the year. Pi, okay? And we have the word pi spelled out the other way up. Fascinating stuff, I know. Let's undo that. Let's undo that. Undo. And now I want to show you this other fold, right? because this is a little bit more, I don't know if you call it fudgery or not, or whether it's supposed to be like this, but you can see I'm going right down through the middle of this horseshoe here at the bottom, which is actually a picture frame, and I'm coming right down through the middle of this, through the pattern here. Okay, so I'm picking a spot that's, got a mark to, and I'm actually right down the middle of this little line, double set of lines right here as well. So what I have to do now is I can pick this up and move it over and then match it up with the pattern on the other side. See, we're coming up on the pattern, so I can match it up with the pattern right about there somewhere. But my issue is the border line does not match up, or if you match the border line up, check out the bottom number 1 with the horseshoey thing. It's not lining up correctly. So the problem is I have to make that line up, I've got to kind of raise that thing up a little bit here. And you'll notice that the border line now, if you can see this, I don't know if I've got enough resolution in my video for you to be able to see it, but let's go back to brushes. What you'll notice is that right here, that borderline is not matching up, but it is kind of joining into this horseshoe, which is kind of fascinating right here. It kind of lines up with the horseshoe, right? So the borderline is not matched up, but now this whole pattern right here, this horseshoey picturey thing, is lined up. Okay, let me flip this and explain it a little bit. What we have here as well is we have some numbers. This goes back to a different decode of mine, but these actually are picture frames, I believe, in each corner. One picture frame is a side-on view, and one picture frame is a front-on view picture frame. If we look at Washington, with the side-on view, we have the value of $1. Okay, and then if we look at Washington again, sorry, I said that around the wrong way. With the side-on view, we have the value of 25 cents, because that's what he is on the quarter. And with the front-on view here, we've got $1. Okay, so we've got the numbers 251, or which, how you want to combine those numbers. Okay, or 152 or 125. Those numbers, are pretty important, right? There's a 521 in the chart of Lorraine. I believe it's the 13th Lucas number. Okay, Lucas is the number 2, starts with the number 2, so you have a 213 reference. Okay, which, if you've seen some other decodes on Lucas numbers, we can actually do some number jumps in Lucas numbers that will actually take us, by adding up a group of numbers in there and going from the start date of 213 of 13th of February, we can actually get to Christmas. Okay, so again, with these numbers here, 1, 2, and 5, these are numbers that tie back into Christmas, okay, with the 1225, right? So important stuff. And what you'll notice is the number 1 is lined up here. Okay, so this looks like a number 1 now. The borderline doesn't match. Okay, so the borderline is off. This is kind of interesting because at the Hoover Dam, when you do your fold here, and this becomes the Hoover Dam here, the borderline is right in the center between Nevada and Arizona, is right at the center of the Hoover Dam. Okay, and so what you can see is with the ruffles here of Washington's tie, this is, when you're just looking at this bottom part here where the dam is, this is the water flowing over the dam at the borderline. Okay, the borderline is off. I've got a fly bugging me. The borderline is what do I say? Not aligning. Okay, which is kind of ominous. If I can even speak tonight, oh, God. Yeah, so that's kind of, a bit, it makes you think, doesn't it, that maybe that's supposed to not line up for that reason, that they're referencing a mismatched borderline. Don't know. That if it is that, then that is pretty mental. Okay, because if the borderline was to shift, that would mean that the dam would have to crack. Okay, at some point. Yeah. And this thing here, so I'm going to show you something now. This thing here would have to, well, I've got to flip it to show you, but I'll show you what this is a reference to. I think this is the one that has to be born. Okay, this is the cup of Christ here. This is the horseshoe dam. Okay, this is let's look at this as well. What we'll do is we'll flip it. Let's flip it again so you can see this a little bit better. So rotate 180. Okay, so this might make a little bit more sense now. So go back to the drawer. So now this number one is not aligned. Okay, it's not aligned at all. Now I've said in a previous decoders, I think that could be a letter I here. As you would write a letter I, come down and up, and then this is the little dot here. Got the idea of a letter I. They could have made that number one, if it's supposed to be a number one, they could have made that number one line up in the pattern, but they chose not to for a reason. Okay, and I'm just doing it this way because this just makes the story make sense. Okay, but I have had this top thing misaligned and kind of looked at, possibly this being an O and it could actually be an O and a 1 for the number 10 for sure. But I've looked at it being like the letter O, yeah, instead of being a 0 and a 1, being the letter O and being the letter I as well, which would be a 159. But anyway, this story makes more sense to me right now. This is a D. Okay, that's not too much of a stretch to see that's a D, and so that gives you 4 with the D and then 9 with the I. 4, 9. Okay, so that is one of our 4, 9 references, right? But let me show you something else. We have the 1 here now with the head right here. There's the body, here's the arms, here's this. When you flip it up this way, you'll see that this is the womb here. And now there's some wave action here. It looks like a tidal wave at the top of here. Yeah, tsunami type thing going over. But again, this is, is this referencing water? And a wave is water breaking. Yeah, that's what that is just a wave at the top of on this image here. If we turn it back up the other way, you can see it was a wave. So a wave is, water breaking, and this guy is going to shoot out of here. I think the leaves and berries here add up to 85, by the way, what we have. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it adds up to 85. Those, I can't remember off the top of my head, but I'm pretty sure they add up to 85. So again, Marty has to get home to 1985. And remember, those two numbers are super duper important for the middle of the chart of Lorraine as well. And they show up here as well. You know, with the leaves and berries here, you can get 55s, 88s, 85, amongst a few other things. 5.9s in there as well, even. Um, but this is where I'm going with this. This is 4.9 here, right here, and this dude is about to be ejected from the matrix, right here. The dam is about to break open and birth the 1. Okay, I don't know, but you know, it's just another one of these things. Now notice down here, here is 2 bunny ears and the 2 bunny ears. Follow the white rabbit. There's the 2 bunny ears down the bottom of here. You know, these are 2 leaves at each corner, which I refer to as the bunny ears. Again, the 2 inlet towers on each side of the Hoover Dam, and you know, again, 22. Okay, Taylor Swift, Caitlin Clark. Just recently with the Caitlin Clark thing. Excuse me. So anyway, I wanted to show you that. Let's undo that a minute, and let me just show you the other important thing about. There's one more to do here. So how do I do this one? Let me just count up the leaves and berries for you, right? So this is, you know, another decode from donkeys years ago. But if we count leaves and berries, what we got is 1, 2, 3, 4 berries there, right? We've got 2 leaves up here, and we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 berries here. So we've got 2, 5, 4. Okay, 9/11, the 254th day of the year. If I count the numbers in the middle here, if I build a bridge across here and do this jump, okay, I've got 1 berry here, and then I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 leaves, and I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 leaves here. Okay, I've got 155. Okay, 155 days jump from 9/11 takes us to 1, 2, okay, 1 berry, and 1, 2, 3 leaves. 2, 1, 3. The start of Lucas numbers. Okay, there's our jump. This set of Lucas numbers, again, we can tie back to you know, the middle of the chart of Lorraine, to the number 11, 18 as being the middle of that thing, and everything ties back on itself. Okay, but we can tie this back to the birth, and then we can do some number jumps in Lucas numbers that take us to Christmas from this point. Okay, so there's some interesting tie-ins all in the back catalogue. What we can also do is, if we do this 155 jump but go the opposite way in the year, guess where it takes us? Get rid of all this. Actually, I think we're done with this now, but I can tell you where this is going to take us. It's going to take us to the date 4/9. Okay, which is, again, kind of fascinating, isn't it? I'm going to leave this part now. I'm going to show you the other table, and I'm going to show you how this ties in. Okay, so let's go to this. Okay, so I've showed you this table before. Okay, but in previous versions of it, the middle point was down through here. Okay, and all I've done, and the other thing that's changed a little bit here, is that this number 1, you know, the number row here actually started right here, and all these numbers that are down this side here were over here. So all I've done in this table, I've done 2 things. I've moved the number line over, I've jumped it over, and the reason for doing that is this number 1 now aligns with all these other number 1s, and funnily enough, actual pi aligns, and the number 1 lines with all those number 1s as well. So that is firstly pretty interesting. Okay, and I was kind of toying with the idea of doing that actually for a while, but I don't know really why I decided to align this way. I just decided to try it and see if there was anything interesting, I think. Anyway, so all the ones are aligned apart from this row of actual pi here. Now I'm going to show you what I did with this one in just a second. But what you'll see as well is now the middle of the table is now here. Okay, this is now the center of the table. Obviously I've still got the cross is still I didn't change the colors here, okay, to move the cross over. Okay, I just don't have time to mess around changing all these numbers over to a different color. But what is interesting is the center number here now. So we have the eclipse date in the center of this alignment, which I thought was, well, I just thought it was really interesting. Okay, the other thing that I did is this green row of pi. Now I'll show you what I did with this before we move on. Is what I did is, because the center row is the pi cycle, not the actual numbers of pi, but the pi cycle, the Fibonacci sequence type cycle that is started on the number 3. Okay, so this is where that cycle really starts, right here. Okay, now what I did is I just aligned the actual numbers of pi to line up with this. Yeah, so these two are aligned now. Okay, backwards and forwards here. Yeah, you see. I tell you what's fascinating about aligning those two is now in the actual numbers of pi here, what aligns in the center of this thing is the 4-8 again. Okay, albeit it's reversed. Yeah. So this was like, oh wow, that is pretty amazing as well, that those two are aligning. Yeah. Now bear in mind what I've just shown you with the dollar bill and all the references back to pi there, you know. And now I'm showing you this with the 8-4 in the middle, right? Now, what is fascinating, now this is where this ties into the dollar bill. Now what is fascinating is the 9-4 comes before the 4-8 in the center of this thing. It's on one side, it's lopsided, yeah? Now, when I'd done that and seen that now that this, you know, this 9-4 is now cross-referencing with the standard number line here. It's cross-referencing back to 10-11. I was like, holy cow, because this in the dollar bill, this 10-11 in the dollar bill is referencing back to pi. Okay, so it was just absolutely fascinating. And you know, this is a pi cycle here. Okay, this whole number line here, this whole number line coming through here is all, this is pi. So absolutely fascinating, to say the least. What, you know, where are we at? We have corresponding numbers here for the 9-4 corresponding with this 10-11, which is now cross-referencing back with pi here. It's cross-reference, this pi is referencing back with pi in the dollar bill. I don't know. You know, I'm hanging on. I'm going to stay up an extra hour tonight and just wait until the midnight hour. Is it only, are we 1 hour? I don't know if I'm 1 hour or 2 hours difference. It might be 2 hours actually. But I'm going to stay up and just see. So again, you know, Madonna and the Hoover Dam, you know, I don't know. Probably nothing will happen. But this is just fascinating connections here. Again, when we, what was I going to say? Can't remember now actually. Oh, the Queen's death is still in here. right here, which again is aligning with, you know, the eclipse numbers, which is fascinating again, because again, let's get rid of all this stuff a minute so we can just focus in on just a couple of things. Oh, let's get rid of that, and let's just put a box back around this. So we know we got our eclipse numbers, okay? So the Queen's death is still here. Now remember, the eclipse is the death of the Queen. It's the death of the Queen and the King, really. Because those two things, the sun and the moon, are consuming one another. You know, even though it's the moon coming across the sun, blocking out the sun, that what you're looking at, that black pearl, the thing that's coming across there, you know, as it comes across, it becomes black, yeah? It turns black as it's coming across the sun. That's the Black Madonna, yeah? And the sun is dying at that point. Both those things are dying. The Black Madonna is the black pearl, is the eclipse, is the monolith, is all those things. That thing is consuming the sun is consuming the mother. Those two things are dying. Those two things are, yeah, dying and are going to be reborn, yeah? Just the same way as what you've got, just like with the carbon day L turning into carbon night. Okay, get the reference there. Okay, with the wordplay, but that is the diamond burning, turning into soot, into black carbon, and then the diamond's reborn again. Okay, and so it turns from diamond, or from, you know, from the white, the silver, the moon, into the black pearl, and then back into the diamond again, rebirth. Okay. Anyway, but we have the Queen's death tying into this. We also have, with all these 8s and the 13 at the top of here, you read that number backwards, 831, we have Diana's death tying into this as well. We also have Taylor Swift's birthday at the top of here. Yeah, feeling 22 right now. Lots of Taylor Swift references with everything going on. And again, the bunny ears, the 22. Yeah, we've got her tying into this as well now. Okay, what else have I got to say about this? I forgot my train of thought. It's also interesting if you notice the other part of that, the other half of the Queen's death here, we've got tying into the start of that thing with the Black Madonna in iPet Go being the Super Bowl trophy, and that thing, the Super Bowl this year taking place on 2/11. Okay, and then of course that 2/11 in turn again ties back into, on the other side of that thing we have Madonna's sort of inverse, her inverse numbers here. So that again with the Black Madonna in the iPet Goat thing, very fascinating. Anyway, I think I'm going to leave it there for it. I'll tell you one interesting thing. I hope I've got this number right here. I have to go back and double check it, because I'll tell you what is also interesting with that whole boat thing on the 26th of March. That's awful close, isn't it? That the 325 here. I'll have to go back and double check some of the numbers on that actually. I just thought that was kind of interesting. That's pretty close there. But again, I do want to point out that the 26 and 62 is also important because it cross-references back in these cycles here. Okay, between this last row here, that's a Fibonacci sequence, and back with pi. So that is kind of interesting as well. And also, I'll tell you one more thing. the down at the bottom row of pi here, the 97 is in the center of this thing. And if you recall, I don't know how many videos back it was, but I explained something, that there's simply 3 different cycles for the whole of this thing. That these are just basically 3 different cycles repeated in a different pattern. Okay, well, I say a different pattern, just different stop and start points. Okay. We have Fibonacci, Lucas, and Pi. Okay, those are the 3 different cycles that we have. When you go to my chart of Lorraine and you go to the middle of that chart, the middle of that chart with these 3 different cycles adds up to 79, the middle numbers on that chart. Okay, so you would just go to the 7 row basically and add up those 3 different numbers that are in the 7 row, and it comes out to 79. 79, I think. So again, it's you know, fairly fascinating stuff. I think that was all I had for this. Anyway, I'm gonna keep my eyes peeled tonight. Probably nothing will happen. You know, it's probably just a different date. You know what's gonna happen on, if it does ever happen. But I don't know. We'll wait and see whether the Hoover Dam gets a crack in it or whether Madonna croaks tonight. It'll be interesting. One other thing that I will mention is that connection again with Madonna and the let me get rid of some of this so we can see it. That connection with Madonna and this number jump that is right here as well. Okay, the 23,979 day number jump, which goes from Madonna's birthday, 8/16/1958, through to 410 basically. Or you could potentially make it a 4/9 if you included the end date if you wanted to. I think that was the way around it was. Anyway, you know, this is the follow-on day. This is why, and that number there also references completion of a cycle. In fact, in the let's just go to it and I'll show you, because otherwise it won't make any sense. Here's our pi row here again, and if we added all these numbers up all the way through and including this one here, this is our total, 410. Okay, so this is pretty important. And also note, as you carry on through here, we have the day of the year for 9/11, and we also have the CRM 114 or 4/11, which again is the next day on from this, which is the next day on from, well, you have to take a 4 and a 9 here. Okay, I'm gonna leave it there. Yeah, I'm gonna leave it there for this one. Catch you on another video soon. Cheers. All right, bye.